What's up, guys? This is Casey, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I need to talk to you guys about something that I find is one of the biggest issues with today's society when it comes to debt, and that is the cost of owning and buying a car. We take the actual process of owning and buying a car for granted so much that we don't actually sit down and process how expensive it actually is to own a vehicle. We do it so poorly to where it's just a part of our society to take on the debt and to incur the cost of owning the car instead of actually sitting down and processing the actual cost of ownership of making that purchase. I want to talk to you guys today about some of the traps and things to look out for and why owning a car is one of the largest traps when it comes to building wealth. So let's hop right into it. I got a couple of tabs I want to talk to you guys about for some key topics that I really want to touch on. One I want to go over is the total cost of owning a car. A lot of people, when you get into a car, whether it's used or new, people only focus on the car note and not the actual TCO, which is the total cost of ownership. The total cost of ownership doesn't just include the car note itself, but it also includes the depreciation of the car. It includes how much interest you're paying. It includes how much that car uses in gas. It includes the costs and the repairs and the maintenance, and it also includes the taxes, the expenses to actually run the car. People do not take that into consideration, and I've spoken to so many people who've told me, "Man, you know what, Casey? I only thought about the car note and not actually what the car was costing me." That's one of the biggest traps that people have. I want to go over something here. The average monthly car cost is now $716. And that's on the new car. The average used car is $526. Now keep in mind, that is just the car note. If you tack on gas, what do you spend? $240 a month. Tack on car insurance, what is that? Another $150 a month. Don't go out and buy a luxury car like a BMW or Mercedes, because if you get a car that's out of warranty, you're looking at thousands upon thousands of repair costs, right? Also, you need to factor in, what are you paying in interest? Right now, the average car loan is 72 months. It used to just be 4 years, but because the cost of cars have gone up so significantly, more and more people are buying cars with longer car loans to get the nicer upgrades, to get the newer model. And all you're really doing is just putting a noose around you financially, because it's causing so many issues with building wealth. Let's take a look at some of the other things. If we click over to the other tab, on the RamseySolutions.com, you'll see that he talks about the truth about car payments. He breaks down pretty much what a car payment is, how they calculate it, and actually talks about how much the average car payment is as well, in addition to the real cost. And what this website talks about is, what people don't factor in is that when you purchase a vehicle, that car goes down in value the moment you drive it off the lot, and what you're paying for that car goes up than what you originally borrowed for it. So if you're borrowing $30,000, you're probably going to end up paying close to $33,000, $34,000 for a car. And by the time you've paid that car off, which most people don't, that $30,000 car is worth closer to $15,000, $16,000. And keep in mind, the average used car is in the 30,000s, and new is in the 40s. So you got to just process how much you're taking a hit just on the interest and the depreciation itself. Remember, this channel was all about buying appreciating assets, not depreciating assets. Let's take a look at something else here. He talks about why you want to buy a cheap used car. No more upgrading outside of your price range. It's time to get something that actually fits your budget. Because if you can't write a check for the car on the spot, you really can't afford it. And he's right. It's harsh, but it is the truth. Now, he talks about what you do. What would you do if you would have spent, save what you would have spent on your car payment? So if, let's say, you would have paid $700, and in reality, your card notes 554, to take that additional amount and put that into a savings account or to an investment account. And then he just kind of talks about how it's important to keep your current car and invest that money. You know what the best car is? The best car is a car without a card note. Remember that. I want to take you guys over here to this site, Credit Karma. They talk about what the average car loan length is. That's a tongue twister. The longer loan terms rule in the automotive industry, with the average length car now at 6 years. So imagine this: you go and you hop into a brand new 2022, fill in the blank, it doesn't matter. You're going to be paying on this car for 6 years. Now, the thing is, what do most people do with their 6 year car loan or 7 year car loan? Nobody actually pays their car off. What do? They drive the car for 2 to 3 years. They're almost always upside down on it. And then they turn around and get a new car with the negative equity and roll that negative equity into another car for an even longer car loan. And so you're just sitting in negative equity every 3, 4 years on a depreciating asset with $600, $700 car note. I want to show you guys, if you go down here and it talks about, is a 72-month car loan bad? My estimation, it's absolutely bad. If you have to get a car loan for 72 months, you can't afford the car. My philosophy and my rule of thumb is that you want to get a car that's 4 years. So what does that do? That forces you to get a cheaper car, and that actually reinforces that this is the car that you really can afford. It talks about how you have repair costs by paying down the car loan. It talks about how you're going to end up owing more on the car than it's worth, and that is going to always happen. It never ceases to fail. I want to write out some of the numbers here on Edmunds.com to actually talk about what the financing looks like and just overall. So, what do? You go into a car dealership and they ask you, what's the first question they ask you? What do you want your monthly payments to be? So let's just say hypothetically, say, I don't know, 550. Cool. 60 months, right? 60 months is fine. Market finance rate, 5%. Trade-in value, most people are upside down, so you're not really trading in value. Most people are going to be, negative equity, right? No trading value. You're going to be negative equity. Let's just say you're upside down by 4,000, right? Because that's what most people are. Amount you owed in your trade-in, I guess, is kind of the same thing. Cash down. Let's say you put down $1,000. Total down payment, $1,000. Sticker price range, 24, 27. That's nothing. Right? Most people are going to be paying a hell of a lot more than that. What this does is this tells you what you want your car price to be, and this is out the door to just have this at 550. But guess what? The gas is 200. Insurance, the repairs, the maintenance, you get the warranty, you get the depreciation, you get the interest. It's a ridiculous amount of money that people pay when it comes to their car loans, and you suffer. You suffer tremendously. So right now, I know a friend who owns a home, and he told me this story that just happened a few weeks ago, to where a lady went and applied to rent his home. She was a manager at a fast food restaurant, a fast food chain. Take home was like, I think the take home was like $3,400 a month. She had a car note of $974. It was a brand new 2020. I can't remember, but it was a brand new 2022 model. $974 with take home pay $3,400, and that's just the car note. The woman is probably paying closer to $1,400, $1,500 for this vehicle, and that's just to get back and forth to work. It's one of the things to where I've learned over the years, in my younger years, that when you are purchasing a car, you need to make sure that you never buy new. There's an old financial philosophy that if you can't afford to pay the car twice in cash, you can't afford the car. And I can tell you right now, 90 something percent of people who are buying cars today can't afford to pay the car in cash. So what do I do? Here's what I do when it comes to buying a car. First, I never, and I mean never, have I purchased a car new. And I can afford to pay for a car cash many times over. I'll never buy a new car. The second thing that I won't do is I personally will never buy a luxury vehicle. My number one vehicle that I will never buy is a BMW. Now, full disclaimer, I have owned a BMW before. I owned a 335 IS, and it was one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life was on that vehicle. It was a two-door coupe. It was a two-door convertible. I can't quite remember what I paid for the car. I think it was like maybe $30,000, give or take. I ended up selling that car 2 years later for $23,000. I took like a $15,000 hit on this car. And why did I? couple of reasons. One, overpay for the car to begin with. And we're talking, this is maybe 13, 14 years ago, so quite a while. The second issue that I had with it is that I ended up getting a very expensive warranty that I also overpaid for the car as well. The third issue that I had is that the warranty on the car was going to expire. And the fourth issue that I had is that it was a BMW and it had some issues with it that I had to get repaired on it. And so when you factor in all of those things, when it comes to trade-in, what happens? You go to trade in your vehicle, the dealer is never going to give you what you pay for the car. Owning a car is probably the number one next to credit card debt of way of reducing and eliminating and ensuring that you stay poor for the rest of your life. You want to make sure that you get a car that is no more than $10,000 or $15,000. Now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would I go out and buy a car for $10,000 or $15,000 when these car dealerships are giving us really good deals on 21, 22, 20 models? And the reason being is just simply the TCO, the total cost of ownership. You have to remember that it's not just about getting into the car. It's about maintaining the car, and it's about having enough wiggle room financially to where you're not strangled on a month-to-month basis just trying to keep up with the Joneses, just trying to keep the car going. Has anyone ever thought about the cost of gas? Well, right now, gas isn't going up that much. But what about if you own a V8? What about if you go out and you get a turbo car? I have a Jeep Cherokee right now, 2019, and it is a turbo. It's a V4 turbo with a newer engine. But I paid $24,000 for the Jeep. It's a 2019 Jeep Cherokee. It's a turbo. It's a limited edition. I paid $24,000 for the car. I got a $2,000 warranty, and the car note. I got a 4-year car loan. Now I could have paid this car cash. The reason that I didn't is because there's a big difference between borrowing money that you can afford to borrow at a good interest rate and borrowing money that you can't afford to borrow with a car that you can't afford to drive. Two totally big differences. So if you get a car loan that is $400, but you could technically afford to pay for the car cash, or if you get a car that's like $700 or $800, then you're living within your means. And that's all I want you guys to do, is to make sure that when you go out and you look at a car, that you're living within your means. Something else I need you guys to be very cognizant of. A lot of people kind of make fun because when a lot of colleagues and people that I know, friends, that when they're going out to buy a car, they call me to go out with them. And the reason being is that car dealerships nowadays are very, very slick and very tricky when it comes to actually selling your car and getting you into a car. There's some things you got to be on the lookout for. Rule number one is this: never, and I mean never, go to a car dealership without being pre-financed. I don't care whether you have bad credit, or you have good credit or great credit. You want to make sure you always go and get pre-financed, because that takes the money situation out of the equation. You already know what you can afford. You already know what your interest is going to be, and you already know what your payments are going to be purely based on that alone. So that's rule number one. Number two thing I think that is important that I've already highlighted is obviously don't buy a new car. And the third thing is that when it comes to warranties and things of that nature, if you get a Toyota, if you get a Honda, if you get something that's a reliable vehicle, even if it's a used car, you generally don't need to purchase an extended warranty, especially if it's a car that's within already the manufacturer warranty. By the time you actually end up needing to have that manufacturer warranty, it's going to expire. So that'll save you $2,000 or $3,000 right there. Another thing I think you guys need to also be aware of is that when it comes time to actually sign in the papers, there's a lot of games that car dealerships like to play to where they put little hidden costs into the contracts, like the fingerprints cost that etches in the serial numbers into the side of the car in case it gets stolen, and they add $800, $900 cost. So you need to be very cognizant of that. And if you're able to do all of this, for the most part, you'll be fine. But what I don't want you guys to do is to go out here and get a car, especially if you have poor and okay credit, with an interest rate that's extremely high, for a car that has lots of bells and whistles, that's going to suck up a lot of gas, that's going to depreciate the moment you drive off the lot, and it's going to hamstring you from being able to put money into the stock market or put money into just even a savings account that has a 4% interest right now to actually get you your financial freedom. Cars are a financial burden. They are not financial freedom. And if you guys followed my last video, you know where I told you that people who are wealthy, millionaires, do not drive expensive cars. I need you guys to start changing your mindset to understand that millionaires do not drive expensive cars, at least not relative to what they can afford. So if they're not doing it, it's a reason they're not doing it. And if you're not a millionaire, you shouldn't be either. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I tried my best to be as condensed as possible, but I wanted to cover a lot of bases because I wanted to really highlight the challenges and the traps and just the societal issues that we run into when it comes to these cars. It's a big issue and it's something that you cannot allow yourself to have. And if you are in a situation, you need to get out of it so that you can begin to flip your money to get that real financial freedom that you're looking for. So I really appreciate you guys watching the video. If you liked it, please leave a like and a thumbs up. Please make sure to comment below. I want to know if you are currently driving a used car, driving a new car. What are you driving? And do you think that you got a good deal for the car? Hope you guys really found the content informative and valuable. And remember, here we don't sell the truth, we tell the truth. Thanks for watching.